Hi babe, it's Tilly here. If you didn't know, Susan and I are directing a very trans short film and the producers are crowdfunding it and now you can support it and help make it happen. Set 25 years into the future, along the way is a sci-fi story about Victoria and the father who died when she was very young. As a trans woman who transitioned as an adult, her father never got to know her truth. She uses a one-round-trip only time travel device to jump back to our present and meet the man she can barely remember, bond with him over comics, and try to find out if he'd love her for who she really is. Written and directed by Tilly Bridges and Susan Bridges, original comic art by our friend and GLAAD award-winning artist Richard Fairgray, produced by Erin McDonald, science consultant to Star Trek, Erin Loss and Jessie Earl, known for her Jessie Gender YouTube channel. Crowdfunding is open from February 19th until March 21st, and there's a lot of cool rewards, including comics and pins featured in the film, shout-outs, behind-the-scenes stuff, and you can even get a producer credit. Check out all the details at tinyurl.com/longawayshort. And even if you can't monetarily support the project, which we completely understand, please sign up to follow the project and post about it and spread the word. Every little bit helps us make our budgetary goals so we can make this movie. Because we need trans stories now more than ever. Thank you for your support. Love you. Welcome to Tilly's Trans Tuesdays. This week we wrap up our 100th episode celebration in episode 102 because I'm mad with power and do what I want. So here comes Ask Tilly Anything, Part 5. Hi, I'm Tilly Bridges, your host, and I'm joined by my writing partner, my best friend, my wife, our token cis representation, the baseline and the music of my life, Susan Bridges.
Hello.
How you doing?
Well, I don't think we should ask each other that right now.
Things are rough.
Things are bad.
But we're getting through.
Yep, with a lot of yelling. Yes.
Well, do see Ask Tilly Anything Part 1 and 2 from years ago at tillystranstuesdays.com and the new Part 3 and 4 in episodes 100 and 101 first. If you know what's good for you, you do know what's good for you, don't you? On with your questions.
Hey, Tilly, I have a question from a cis perspective. We have a new starter at work who I am pretty sure is trans, but she is introduced as it should be without any reference to that. I want to show solidarity, but unsure how.
Oh, I am so glad you asked. Okay, so first, you can't tell if someone is trans just by looking at them. You can't tell if someone is trans just by looking at them. You can't tell if someone is trans just by looking at them. That's the stuff all those bullshit quote-unquote transvestigators do, and they universally seem to be trying to prove that any cis woman who doesn't conform to the gender ideal, that's in quotes, gender ideal, either in presentation or physically is trans. It's an awful way of policing gender conformity. I don't think that's what the person asking this question was doing, but I wanted to make that bit clear to everyone else out there first. Just do not make assumptions about people's gender, and the world would be a kinder, better place for us all. And definitely, absolutely, unequivocally, do not ask someone if they're trans. That could put us in incredible danger, and it's also asking us to out ourselves to you or anyone else who may be listening. It is, frankly, none of anyone else's business if someone is trans or cis. But if you think this new coworker might be trans and you want to show solidarity and support, wear a trans pride pin. Not only when you talk to them, just wear it. Always. When something comes up in meetings or whatever that might affect trans people, stand up for us. It is, of course, the right thing to do and so much safer for cis people to do. And you also then spare the person who may be the only trans person present from having to do it and out themselves if they're not ready to, and risk reprisals from transphobes. In short, just be an accomplice. Stand close enough so that the bricks thrown at us hit you too, and use your privilege as a cis person to stand up for her and all of us, which is ideally what you're doing even when you think all of your coworkers are cis, right? Check if your health insurance plan covers trans healthcare. If it doesn't, fight to ensure that it changes and does. These are the things we need. We don't need people to ask if we're trans and then tell us you support us. We need you to support us with all of the things I just mentioned. Just keep doing those things. That is the support and solidarity we need.
Am I a caser? I just think my trans friend is so cool and like maybe we could be more than friends, but like I don't want to fetishize her.
My friend, my person, my fellow human, I kind of love you for asking this, because if you're worried you might be a chaser, that is the first step to not being an actual chaser. Chasers, for those unaware, are almost universally cis men who fetishize trans women and literally chase us around trying to have sex with us. For more on them and how awful that all is, see Chasers and the Fetishization of Trans Women at TillysTransTuesdays.com. Warning, it includes screenshots of chasers in my DMs and some of the content is incredibly awful. See, the thing about chasers is that they never think about the feelings of the women they fetishize. That's literally what fetishizing is, right? Thinking of us only as objects you can use to get your rocks off. Chasers don't support trans rights. They turn on you the second you don't fawn over their attention. They're very often bigots who think we're quote-unquote naughty or some quote-unquote safe way to explore their own feelings about their sexuality. It is okay to be attracted to trans women. We're great. Trans women are hot. Just ask me. What's not okay is to treat us as if we're not human beings with feelings, wants, and needs of our own. If you think you'd like to approach her about being more than friends, just do that the way you would with a cis woman. It's literally no different. We're just women. As long as you respect us and don't hound our DMs, as long as you're not preying on the newly out looking for someone to finally see them as the woman they are, as long as you're treating us like human beings, you're not a chaser. Just don't be a creep. Not being a chaser is the easiest thing in the world to do, which makes it remarkable that so many cis men entirely fail at it.
Can you discuss how cross-dressers fit into the trans umbrella? Some cross-dressers identify as trans, but also as their assigned at birth gender or non-binary, and some of the trans community seem unaccepting.
Yeah, this one is really complicated because cross-dressing isn't the same as being trans. But some cross-dressers are absolutely trans, but some also aren't. I think the important thing to remember here is that it's not cross-dressing that makes someone trans, because a whole lot of cis people do it. If you're trans or non-binary and a cross-dresser, that's cool, you're trans. Cross-dressing doesn't negate your transness. But cis people who are cross-dressers do not get to call themselves trans because by the very definition, they're cis. Or, presumably, because invariably some of those cis cross-dressers discover they're actually trans through cross-dressing. So I think we need to be inclusive of the cross-dressing community, but I think the cross-dressers who know they're cis need to not take advantage of that. And I think that's where the hesitance comes in, because there are so few places for trans people that don't get invaded and taken over by cis people. I mean, I can't speak for the trans people you mentioned who aren't accepting of cross-dressers, but my gut says that's where it's coming from. Fear over another potential cis invasion of space and privacy. I think it's on cis cross-dressers to know that things for trans people that are inclusive for cross-dressers are inclusive of trans cross-dressers and are not intended for cis folks. I mean, drag queens technically fall under the cross-dressing umbrella, but they're almost all cis men. And conflating drag queens with trans women is a big problem because it perpetuates seeing trans women as quote-unquote men in dresses, which we are not. I love drag queens, but outside of the few that are trans, the vast majority are not trans people. They're cis men dressing up as, often heightened versions of, a different gender. Do you cross-dress for sexual gratification? Not trans. Do you cross-dress for fun or work? Not trans. Do you want to be/feel or believe you are a different gender than the one assigned at birth? Trans. It's not the clothes you wear that make you trans. It's about who you are. I haven't fully examined my thoughts on the topic before, so I'm not sure how well I'm explaining it, and these might not be my final thoughts on it. Maybe it needs an essay of its own one day. I don't know. But that's where I'm at right now. Cis cross-dressers gotta know what is and is not for them, and trans cross-dressers are trans.
What languages do you speak? Of the languages you do not speak, what languages do you understand without needing a translation hearing them and then seeing them on paper?
Well, this is, sadly, a very short answer. I can only read and speak English, and that's it. I had 2 years of French in high school, and my first teacher was great, but the second absolutely killed my desire to continue learning it. So I never went any further beyond that, and I don't remember much of it, and I haven't had the time to try and pick up another one.
What is your artistic/creative dream?
At its most basic, to just be able to make a living writing and telling stories. For Susan and I to get staffed on a TV show, move up and become showrunners that get to run shows we created someday, and to work on as much Star Trek as possible. And if you want to get really wild, if we somehow ever got incredibly successful financially, I'd love to start a studio specifically to produce movies and TV shows written and created by trans people. Does that all line up with you? How do you feel?
Yeah, I think yes.
Same pagers, that's us.
Yeah. And we like to try a lot of different things, so who knows what'll happen in the future.
Who knows?
From the Wayback Machine, how would you describe the character of the advertisement announcer on the Dixie Stenberg and Brassy Battalion Adventure Theater?
Oh, shit. This is going to require some explanation. So, of the aforementioned podcast production company that Susan and I run, our first show that I created was Umket Industries Presents the Dixie Stenberg and Brassy Battalion Adventure Theater. It's an homage/spoof of old-time radio drama about a group of pilots with sci-fi planes and ray guns fighting Nazis in World War II. It's very silly. A Nazi gets punched for comedic value in nearly every episode, and there's a robot that goes through a servo reassignment surgery. There were no signs. Did you forget that about the robot? Yeah.
I did, actually. I don't remember that at all.
Yep. Anyway, as part of the show, there were entirely fake commercials in the middle, all for products from the show's fictional sponsor. There were also spoofs of old radio commercials from the 30s and 40s. They were a trip. And I played the commercial announcer in all 50 episodes of the show in what can only be described as an ill-suited, warbling voice of discombobulated bewilderment. I honestly don't think I could even do it anymore after speech therapy. And so to answer your question, I would describe that guy as perpetually confused, but happy to read whatever's in front of him in support of the employer who signed his paychecks.
Do you take any supplements in regard to your weightlifting and fitness regimen, and how has working out affected your mindset about transitioning?
So first, no, I don't take any supplements or anything. I just eat a lot of protein and a lot of fiber, and let's be honest, a lot of carbs. I do keep protein bars on hand for when I get snackish, though, because you need a lot of protein to build muscle. My faves are True Bar, that's TRU bar, because they actually almost taste like candy bars. Best tasting ones I've had. I'm particularly fond of their Daydreaming About Donuts, Whipped for Key Lime, and Saltylicious Almond Love varieties. They're also really high in fiber, which helps because when you eat a lot of protein, you need that extra fiber. And I am not paid to say any of this. I just legit love them. There's a link to their site in the show notes. But what supplements you take or don't take, what you eat or don't eat, is going to vary for everyone because every body is different. I eat a PB&J for lunch every day, rotating flavors of a sugar-free and high-fiber jelly and high-fiber bread along with a pound of grapes and like 3 to 4 bananas. And every other day for dinner, I have a salad so big we had to buy an extra bowl for it, and it's got an entire head of romaine lettuce and a ton of tomatoes and almost a pound of deli meat in it. And whatever meals are left, I eat quote-unquote normally, except for my Friday cheat lunches. See Freeing Up My Brain Lunch with Tilly at TillysTransTuesdays.com. And like that is not going to work for most people, but it works great for me. I talked about that in Parents Who Will Never Know the Real You. Check out episode 24 to hear me cry my way through it talking about it. I have an unreal alien metabolism, one of the things my dad gifted me with. Also, working out didn't affect my transition mindset. It was actually the other way around. All the exercise I do was the first thing I ever did to start my transition, years before I could medically or socially transition. I talked all about that back in episode 9 on body hacking. Also, if you want to see the latest of where all my exercise is at, check out the written version of my 4-year retrospective at TillysTransTuesdays.com, as it includes the most recent photos of where I'm at physically with my workouts.
Your hottest Star Trek takes, the one you'll lose followers over. I dare you to post them.
All right, let's go.
Huh.
Dr. Pulaski is no more cranky or racist than Bones, and in fact learns and grows beyond her bigotry in her one and only season of The Next Generation. yet she's universally derided for it, while Bones is celebrated for it. He's really unrepentantly racist towards Spock through all of the original series, and it's always played for laughs. That is some sexism at work. Chris Pine is a far better Kirk than William Shatner was. Pine's Kirk is overconfident and compassionate and charismatic. Shatner's Kirk is smarmy and compassionate and charismatic. And the flip from smarmy to overconfident makes all the difference for me. I can love an overconfident character, but I find myself extra repulsed by smarmy cis white men these days. To be clear, I do not hate Shatner's Kirk. He's still compassionate. But sometimes the smarm is too much and it icks me out, and I don't get that from Pine at all, so I will take Pine every time. I also feel like I haven't seen enough of Paul Wesley's Kirk on Strange New Worlds yet to make a determination about where he falls in the Kirk hierarchy. Also, there is no bad Star Trek. There are some highly problematic episodes and movies and series that succeeded at what they were trying to do more than others, but there is no bad Star Trek.
Best and worst things about the Star Trek franchise.
The best thing is how it's founded on the ideals of inclusion and equality, of hope and wonder. The worst thing is that it's made by fallible humans and is always a product of its time. So it's had sexist episodes and racist episodes and homophobic episodes and transphobic episodes. It and the people who work on it are not exempt from the implicit biases of our society. But it posits a world that is exempt from those because we've recognized and addressed them, and over time it grows more and more into being as inclusive as its ideals have always been. And there's no other mass media franchise you can really say that about, and that is a huge reason why I love it as much as I do. It says we can be better if we choose to be better, and look at the wonders we can accomplish together when that happens. And that is effing beautiful. What do you think are best and worst things about Star Trek?
I think you said it perfectly.
Oh, thanks, babe.
You did. How do you think people should get over internalized transphobia? Is it the same for trans people as it is for the cis?
There is no easy answer to that. Internalized and implicit biases are nightmares to root out and get rid of. For internalized transphobia, which was discussed in depth in episode 18 of this podcast, the most important thing is, again, community. We can often see it in others when we can't see it in ourselves. So we need other trans people to be like, hey, babe, that thing you just said about yourself, that's internalized transphobia. We have to recognize it before we can fight it, and fighting it is about realizing that it's transphobic society that wants us to feel that way, and they do not get to tell us how to feel about ourselves, especially when society wants us to feel embarrassed or ashamed or like we're not enough or like we're freaks or like there's something wrong with us or. Nobody gets to tell us how to feel about ourselves. For folks with implicit transphobia, see episode 57 on implicit queerphobia for more. It's the same as it is with other implicit biases. You have to recognize that they're there and that society put those biases in you, and you have to actively work to change your way of thinking about it. And that can best happen by listening to and believing and learning from the people you want to change your biases about. Because biases and phobias can crumble when the unknown is replaced with knowledge, because then you've no longer got anything to be scared of. This is why representation in media is so damn important, by the way. It's the way most of the people in our country first learn about people who are different from them. And so if marginalized communities like trans people aren't getting that rep, see 2024 Trans Rep in Media, which began in episode 97, or worse, have all the propaganda about us confirmed for them, see Bad Representation 2, Emilia Perez in episode 96, that has real-world consequences for us in the way we're treated, thought about, and think about ourselves.
I think it's important to think about, before you even try to unpack transphobia.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just repackaged sexism.
Absolutely.
And so you need to spend a whole lot of time thinking about sexism.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about how you think women are, how you think men are, how society has told us men behave X way, women behave Y way.
Right.
And think about, do men act this way because this is how men act, or do men act this way because they've been told their entire lives that this is how men are supposed to act, and so they're just fulfilling, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And I think as a cis person, like, I would just say when I first knew you were going to transition,
yeah,
my first reaction was to be mad, because like when you're born assigned male at birth, you are at the top. Like, why would you ever want to bring yourself down?
Well,
and I feel like that is just sexism.
It is. But also it's like, okay, we were quote unquote gifted with masculinity at birth, and that provides some level of privilege. But
Right.
trans women never fully experience male privilege because we don't conform to what they expect boys or men to be, and then we're punished for it our whole lives, so.
Of course. But
Yeah.
I think also a lot of women feel that this is why there's so much more backlash against trans women, because a lot of women hate being women and hate women.
Well, there was this thing I shared on social media not that long ago from a cis woman, a post that she made that trans women taught her that being a woman was something beautiful and worth fighting for.
Exactly.
And not a prison that you were put in, but this is a great thing you can be because you want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think really sitting down and thinking about what it means to be a woman and why we're all taught to hate each other and ourselves
Yeah.
is really important and valuable and can help you unpack transphobia on top of it.
You're very smart.
Okay, that's all. What advice would you give to people whose partners are trans or newly hatched as trans?
First, I'd say you absolutely need to check out episode 71 on cis, spousal, and partner support for how very, very badly we need you to support us when we come out and what can happen when you don't. Second, I say that you may have complicated feelings about it, even if you're fully supportive, and that's okay because you're human. But what you cannot do is make your complicated feelings your trans spouse's or partner's problem. Our coming out isn't about you, it's about us, and it's already such a complicated and complex and often difficult thing to do. The last thing we need is you trying to work through your weird feelings about quote-unquote losing a version of us or what have you, because that's not what's actually happening. That doesn't mean you don't have real feelings to work through. It just means your own internalized confusion over it and possible internalized transphobia and or homophobia cannot be our problem, not then. See the essay on cis grief over trans people when we come out at tilliestrans-tuesdays.com for more. So my advice to you is, whatever it is you're feeling now, know that your spouse wasn't lying to you about who they were. It doesn't mean your marriage is a lie. It doesn't mean staying married to them after transition is somehow breaking your vow because you vowed you were marrying a man and not a trans woman or whatever other nonsense. Your spouse was trying to be the person that society and all of their friends and family and possibly even you told them they were and had to be. And that hurt them and it wounded them and they want to be free of trying to be someone they're not. You care about them. You love them. You should want them to be happy and to be whoever they truly are. So when they're on the path to doing that and they trust you enough to tell you, you've got to support them all the way through it. You're their spouse. That's the job. It's what you signed up for. That's love, baby. If you don't know what they need, ask. If they don't yet know, that's okay. Tell them whenever they do, you're there to help. It's a scary as hell time to come out. So just make it unequivocally clear you love them and support them and will be with them every step of the way. Learn what you need to support them. There are lots of resources like Tillie's Trans Tuesdays. Oh, what? Learn as they learn. Follow where they lead, just as you would with literally anything else in your life, because they're your spouse, right? Your partners. So just be a partner, be a spouse, and love them. Do you have advice as a cis person who had a spouse who came out as trans that you would give to other cis spouses of trans people as they come out?
I think it's a hard thing. I think a lot of people do stay together, even though it doesn't seem that way.
I think more end up not, but yeah.
But also, when people do not, I think also it may not necessarily be because one person is trans. I mean, if you have problems, it's not going to make them better.
Definitely.
It's pretty much as hard as having a baby. Like, it's a big change.
It's an adjustment, yeah.
Things are going to be different. Things are not going to be the same. And I think that's very normal. When you're with someone for a long time, things are going to change a lot, most likely.
Yeah.
And in ways you don't expect.
For all kinds of reasons.
For all kinds of reasons. And I do think sometimes, I don't think you have to stay with the other person. I mean, I happen to be a queer person, so it doesn't bother me. It's not something that I was like, well, I would only wish to have a relationship with an opposite sex person. Like, I'm not like that. But I get that some people are, or to them, that part of their relationship is extremely important to them. So every person is different and each relationship is different, and only you together can decide that. But there are a lot of relationships where one person holds the other one hostage and says they can't transition for XYZ. Yeah, that is toxic and horrible, and you're a bad person. And you don't want to do that.
Don't be that person.
Don't be that person. That's the main thing.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some goofiness to wrap this up.
What are some of the more memorable progesterone dreams you had?
Oh, I'm so excited somebody asked this because I've never really gotten to have my progesterone dream theater as part of Tilly's Trans Tuesdays. So it's about time to change that. Let's get some immortalized in digital audio bites. I should add, for those not in the know, progesterone is a hormone some trans women on HRT take, and it's got some wild side effects like increased sex drive, making you sleep really well. I have never slept better, and wild-ass dreams. I never had dreams like these before being on progesterone, and the benefit of posting them to social media for hilarity is that now I have them all gathered here together for you. And now I present to you harps, 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 harps. Tilly's Progesterone Dream Theater. Progesterone Dream 1. So Guns N' Roses was putting on a concert inside a deli, and Slash told me he couldn't play for reasons, and so I had to play with the band instead. But I don't know how. He doesn't care. It has to be me. So he takes me to a case with his guitar, and I open it, and inside is a tiny guitar half the size of normal made out of rubber. And I pick it up and it bends all over. It's very noodly. And I say, but the strings are so tiny. And they are, even tinier than the rest of this mini bendy rubber guitar. Cut to the end of Welcome to the Jungle, and I'm somehow playing it and things are going okay, but I'm struggling with the tiny strings and it keeps wobbling and bending and it's hard to hold, and I can't believe I'm somehow holding it and plucking the right strings and somehow playing the song when I know nothing about music. This is a true fact. And then it cuts right into the intro to Sweet Child of Mine. And I don't just manage it, I nail it. And I look to the crowd and Slash is there in his hat and he smiles and gives me the thumbs up. That's one of my favorites of all of these.
Really good.
Isn't it good?
It is really good.
Progesterone Dream 2. Things were really weird, and I knew they were weird, but not that I was dreaming. So I kept asking every person in my dream why things were so weird, and they all got mad at me for not knowing I was dreaming. Progesterone Dream 3. I was in an infinite white void. Running through it was a hallway with no ceiling. The walls were covered in Lego plates, so you could build on them. And there was a bearded, burly lumberjack guy in a harness dangling from a rope between the walls, swinging back and forth between them rapidly, sticking Legos on to build stuff. And there was a flying drone with a bucket attached that had to zoom around and catch any Legos he dropped, because if any hit the floor, we would all die.
That's neat.
Progesterone Dream 4. A woman was talking to me, pointed a finger at me and said, well, I can tell you one weird thing. You're going to wake up right now. And our alarm immediately went off. I was freaked out all day. Progesterone Dream 5. I'm on the Walking Dead set and discover over 12 seasons, only 240 hours passed for the characters. And I was so mad about it. But then Tom Petty had squirrel teeth and couldn't sing and demanded I fix them for him. Aren't these great?
Yes.
Progesterone Dream 6. I was being chased by a bundle of dry spaghetti, running through a grid on which at every intersection there was a single dried spaghetti noodle that rose up to the infinite sky. I escaped my pursuer by climbing a mountain made of 1-pound bags of baby carrots.
Baby carrots. Like you think you're going to say spaghetti. 1-pound bags of
Baby carrots.
baby carrots.
Progesterone Dream 7. We got a brand new apartment for the first time, and it was big and wonderful, but it was also a huge building up on stilts, and the only way down was to ride an invisible cloth hammock conveyor up 20 stories to a tower a couple miles across town and take its elevator down. I drew a very crude mock-up of this hot nonsense that you can see in the written version of this topic at TillysTransTuesdays.com. Also, we had a tiny, multicolored, translucent gelatin cat with a moose head complete with antlers that followed us everywhere and liked to play inside sink drains. Progesterone Dream 8. Real me. This one is so hard to get through. Real me and a cartoon version of Timothy Oliphant are private detectives. tracking down a real rabbit who worked at an ice cream shop. And the rabbit wore a shirt that said, "Are you a creamer?" Creamers were anyone who liked ice cream.
My God.
Are you a creamer?
Are you a creamer?
Progesterone Dream 9. Woke up with the phrase, "Uh-oh, dinosaurs," in my head. Progesterone Dream 10. Dreamed I had a heart attack, and instead of calling the hospital, people called the Soulful Wellness Center. A van from there arrived 5 minutes later, and a woman got out and said I was now booked for a 6-night stay in June. "But I'm having a heart attack now," I told her. She shrugged and then misgendered me, so I forced the heart attack away, picked her up, and threw her all the way across the street. Progesterone Dream 11. I was helping Haley Atwell learn ballroom dancing to Total Eclipse of the Heart, and she wasn't sure if she should keep doing MCU movies. And I said yes, because they're running out of bankable stars. She was totally into me in that way, but respected that I was married and we would just be friends. And then she asked me to put the eggs that were on the floor in the corner of the room away, but only the brown ones. And now, for the installment of Progesterone Dream Theater that I think exemplifies them all, Progesterone Dream 12. I know I had 3 dreams one night, and while I didn't remember the first 2 dreams, I did remember everything faded to white between. And I was like, what is this? Am I in a void? No, there was a title card between each of my dreams. I have faithfully recreated it for you to see in the text version of this write-up. It was golden, scripty text on a white background that reads, "Your brain's scrambled." Wild.
Wow.
Thank you all for coming along with me on this ride of now 219 Trans Tuesdays and 102 podcast episodes. I do these for you, and I hope they've been of some help to you. Okay, I'm gonna vamoose. My cryotube needs maintenance, and my brain's too scrambled to do it. Somebody help a chick out. Love you, babes. Tilly Bridges. End transmission. Tilly's Trans Tuesdays is hosted by Tilly Bridges and Susan Bridges, with audio editing and sound mixing by Jillian Morgan. The written essay version of this week's topic and all past topics is available at tilliestranstuesdays.com. Special thanks to Daisy and Jane for the use of Sorry Not Sorry as our show's theme music. Please stop by and show your support at daisyandjane.bandcamp.com and soundcloud.com/daisyandjane. You can find me at Tilly Bridges on Blue Sky and on Mastodon at tillybridges at mastodon.social, and you can find Susan on those at Susan L. Bridges. You can find Jillian at Audio Jillian on Blue Sky. You can join the Tillyverse Discord server by following the link at the very bottom of tilliestranstuesdays.com. We hold regular watch parties for the Matrix films and other trans movies where I do a live Q&A, and it's blossomed into a wonderfully supportive, compassionate, kind community of friends. We'd love to have you join us. If you'd like to keep up with all the writing that Susan and I do, you can sign up for our newsletter at birdguestbroadcast.com. If you enjoy this show, please take a moment to leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. The largest segment of our listeners find the show there, and more reviews equals a higher profile, which means it will reach more of the people who need it. Thank you for your support. For more information, visit pendantaudio.com. Thanks for listening.